What can we learn from our investigation of populations? The Hubbard Brook Experimental Forest is an ecosystem in New Hampshire that has been monitored in terms of populations, nutrients, and climate since 1963. The black dots on the map are weather stations. And data has shown things like temperature clearly increasing over the past 60 years and bird abundance clearly decreasing. What is worrisome is that this trend has been seen again and again around the world. Some even say we are on the brink of the world's sixth mass extinction event.
Planet Earth is 4.5 billion years old. The earliest complex life first appeared around 1 billion years ago. In the hundreds of millions of years since then, our planet has faced 5 major extinction events. From giant impactors to supervolcanoes to potential gamma-ray bursts, the causes of each extinction have generally been apocalyptic single events. Now, for the first time in human history, our species is experiencing an ongoing extinction all around us. And the cause isn't a giant meteor or gamma-ray burst, it's us. As we enter the new decade, recent scientific studies have helped to shed light on just how extreme the situation is, and what ramifications we can expect. As the human race has expanded its control over the planet and its resources, other forms of life have faced greatly reduced habitats and sometimes complete annihilation. Unless immediate action is taken, elephants could disappear from Africa within a generation, critical bee populations could collapse, and the oceans will become so acidic that the remainder of the coral reefs will die. As of 2019, 1 million out of the planet's 8 million species are at risk of extinction, and the global rate of species extinction is thousands of times higher than it has been on average over the past 10 million years. The primary reasons for this should be obvious by now. The destruction of plant and animal habitats, the exploitation of the planet's natural resources, huge amounts of pollution, and climate change. A recent United Nations report has determined that since pre-industrial times, humans have altered 73% of the planet's land and 66% of its marine ecosystems. This alteration varies by location, from strip mining for valuable minerals to dumping trash into bodies of water. The bottom line is that we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Leaving aside the ethical implications of eradicating much of the life on Earth and destroying once pristine environments, we're also threatening our own food supply. Agriculture is at risk due to reduced biodiversity, we've overfished the oceans, exhausted once fertile land, and we have more mouths to feed than ever. If this trend continues, we'll be in a pretty tough spot in the coming decades. So, what do? In early January 2020, the UN Convention on Biological Diversity released a plan to adapt and respond to the ongoing biodiversity crisis we've created. This isn't the first time we've tried to implement risk mitigation measures. The UN set similar targets in 2010, but as humans usually do, we failed to meet most of the goals for the decade and now face a far worse problem than we had 10 years ago, including risk for our own survival. The new plan states, biodiversity and the benefits it provides is fundamental to human well-being and a healthy planet. Despite ongoing efforts, biodiversity is deteriorating worldwide, and this decline is projected to continue or worsen under business-as-usual scenarios. It goes on to say, the framework aims to galvanize urgent and transformative action by governments and all of society, including indigenous peoples and local communities, civil society, and businesses to achieve the outcomes. The main goal is to stabilize the planet's threatened biodiversity by 2030, and allow ecosystems to recover by 2050, finally realizing the vision of, quote, living in harmony with nature. That's something that a lot of people tend to scoff at. Humans like to think of themselves as above nature rather than part of it. We rely on stable ecosystems and a healthy planet too, and as the most advanced species on Earth, we should see ourselves as stewards of the planet's precious and fragile life forms and resources. So, what specifics does the plan offer? One of the main methods of achieving the 2030 goals is through conservation, specifically giving protected status to areas important for biodiversity. The UN is aiming for 30% of these land and sea areas to be fully protected by 2030, with at least 10% of them under, quote, strict protection. Another crucial step outlined in the plan is the reduction of pollution. The framework aims to reduce pollution from plastic waste, biocides, and excess nutrients by at least 50%. Other methods include clamping down on the trade of plant and animal species and ensuring that trade is done legally and sustainably, which will go a long way towards both protecting at-risk species and limiting the introduction of non-native species into fragile ecosystems. But not all of the goals are about conservation and plants and animals. Some are focused on improving human quality of life and hoping that, by extension, these improvements will reduce human-wildlife conflict. These changes would include providing better food security and clean drinking water for vulnerable communities. The UN plan is bold and comprehensive, and could be incredibly beneficial to the planet and the human race if we meet their targets. But what if we don't? How will this sixth major extinction event affect us? The biggest risk for humans is how fragile our global food supply is. If we can't produce enough food to feed our various populations, we're in for some real trouble. For years now, thanks to human activity, biodiversity at the genetic, species, and ecosystem levels have all been declining. Long story short, that means our food and agricultural systems are losing their ability to respond to and recover from shocks caused by disease or the changing climate. 40% of insects are at risk of extinction, including bees, which play a crucial role in pollination, and over 25% of large livestock breeds are at risk as well. We're destroying critical plant species at a breakneck pace. 600 species of plant have gone extinct in the last 250 years, a rate 500 times faster than would have occurred before human interference. Unfortunately for us, the problem is only going to get worse. As our activity continues to annihilate plant and animal species and ecosystems at an alarming rate, our population continues to grow. It's estimated there will be 8.6 billion people on Earth by 2030, and 9.8 billion by 2050. More people means more demand for resources and land. And with our available resources dwindling and much of the planet's surface already fully exploited, we're going to have quite a predicament on our hands. Now, this isn't to say that the world is overpopulated. It's not, and it won't be in 2050. We just need to be more conscious of how we use available land and resources. We need to practice sustainable farming, fishing, and development. We need to drastically reduce our carbon footprint, tidy up after ourselves, and realize that the planet isn't going to take care of itself.
So why are so many populations declining? Is it natural or caused by humans? These are fundamental questions to validating conservation. Scientists have found that the threat to species on the planet fall into 5 categories that can be remembered using the acronym HIPPO. Probably the most significant is the growth of our population, but people do not like the idea of restricting reproductive rights. Fortunately, it does look like our growth is slowing down to a plateau, but can the Earth sustain 10 billion people? The most direct impact that humans have on ecosystems is their direct destruction. An article published in April of 2021 found that just 3% of land ecosystems on the planet are still fully intact. These areas exist in areas like the Amazon and Congo rainforests, Siberia and northern Canada, and the Sahara Desert. The good news is that this study predicted that 20% of terrestrial ecosystems could be restored by reintroducing keystone species like elephants and wolves. Another study from 2016 found that the planet has been chopped into 600,000 fragments by roads, and most of these fragments are too small to sustain functioning ecosystems. What's worse, the total length of roads on the planet is expected to increase more than 60% by 2050. Competition is an important aspect of biological systems. Invasive species often exploit niches free of predators, giving them a competitive advantage over native species. Some examples in the Western United States include Eurasian water milfoil, which is an aquatic plant that alters freshwater ecosystems and can cause hypoxia after decomposing in mass, salt cedar from China that outcompetes desert plants for water, and the New Zealand mud snail, which outcompetes native snails and insects, leaving fish with no food. The first P in HIPPO stands for pollution. Pollution is a density-independent factor, which means individuals cannot escape it when their population is small. Most of our pollution problems are getting worse as our population grows. For example, gases from car exhaust and factories alter the pH of rain, causing acid rain, which can disrupt photosynthesis in plants and dissolve the shells of mollusks and arthropods. As of the year 2000, the entire US is affected by acid rain, even if it is a small deviation from neutral pH. This map shows the hardest hit regions of the US and Europe. It is important to remember that pollution moves across the globe. There are ocean currents and winds that channel solid waste, as well as toxins in the water and air from one location to another. In this way, the pollution that we create in the United States becomes a problem for everyone. Previous mass extinctions like the one in the Permian, which wiped out 96% of all marine life and 70% of terrestrial species, were basically caused by pollution and climate change. In this case, volcanic greenhouse gases cause global warming and the depletion of oxygen. We know this from studying the fossil record. This diagram shows extinction rates were highest at the poles, where the environment was altered the most. All over the world, ecosystems are shifting because of climate change. Biodiversity is decreasing because of the rapid rate of change. Many species are shifting their ranges because farms and suburbs offer new habitat for them, and climate change has increased the space they can tolerate. Ecosystems also change over time and are especially affected by temperature and rainfall. Climate change is very quickly altering the spatial pattern of these factors, causing species to need to either move, adapt, or go extinct. Because of the speed of the change, adaptation is unlikely. We call these ecosystems that occur around the world and have similar ranges of average temperature and rainfall biomes. What will happen to these biomes in the future? We predict massive shifts. Here is a prediction for what Europe will look like in 100 years based on climate models. It does not account for land that is urbanized. You can see that very little of Europe is natural. And it also does not account for sea level rises. This strange landmass at the bottom of the map is Antarctica, which will someday be a mix of boreal forest, mountains, and tundra that you can walk to from South America.